Well, usually these things get very easy come to the end of the season, but man, the power rankings for Week 18 are very messed up this year, and it is awesome. How's it going, everybody? I am Jason of Jason's Realm here, and today I'm here bringing you guys my NFL Week 18 power rankings. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this. But before we do, let me know in the comments down below who your power rankings look like heading into Week 18, your top 10. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Alright, so starting things off here with the 11-5 Philadelphia Eagles, down 4 spots from last week, because man, this team has been struggling. They are the definition of the struggle bus. If you look up the struggle bus in the dictionary, you will see a picture of the Philadelphia Eagles logo this year. Because man, it is awful. They have been struggling against good teams all season. They have not really been winning convincingly against good teams. And they've been losing games that they should have won. I mean, that Cardinals game on Sunday, that should have been a fairly easy win for Philadelphia. And instead they decided, we don't need to win that one. And it's awful. It is awful for this team. And if they cannot get their act together, they are going to be first-round exits in the playoffs. Could be against Tampa Bay, too, which would be kind of crazy to think. At number 9, we have the 9-7 Indianapolis Colts, up from not being ranked last week because, man, this team, they had a bad week a couple weeks ago, but, man, they had a game they needed to win. The Raiders were playing hard as well that whole game because they knew that their season was on the line just as much as the Colts season was on the line, and they said, hey, let's just go ahead and go out and win this game, and they did. They kept one step ahead. They kept a multi-score lead. And that is exactly what you got to do if you want to win a game here in the NFL. So big kudos to them, and this team is looking good going into the playoffs with only one bad week in the last month. All right, moving on to number 8 is the 9-7 Houston Texans, up from not being ranked last week. Because, man, I feel like this team, I mean, it might be a little bit of personal bias here, but I love this team, man. They are a different team when C.J. Stroud plays. When Stroud is in the game, this team is almost like a top 5 team in the league. When he doesn't play, there is some concerns. But, man, just the way C.J. Stroud has turned this franchise around, man, it is absolutely insane. And assuming they can beat the Colts and get into the playoffs this year, they might be a threat to a lot of teams in the AFC. I mean, I can see them taking down the Chiefs. I can see them taking down the Dolphins. I can see them taking down the Bills. I mean, there's even a scenario where I can see them taking down the Ravens, God forbid. I mean, it is a very interesting scenario, and Houston is looking really good. And when they are on, they are on. So at number 7, we have the Kansas City Chiefs getting a big win over the Bengals. They're going to rise up 3 spots because, well, the teams ahead of them kind of decided they wanted to fall off the rankings entirely. So overall, the Chiefs have been struggling this year, but I couldn't really justify moving these other teams up there. I feel like we have a bona fide top 5, top 6, but after that, it gets a little messy. It's almost like college football. You have a bona fide top 8, but, you know, top 4 is a little messy. It's kind of the opposite here. So, that's the thing, is that Kansas City is playing all right. They're playing decent football. They got a big win to clinch the West, and we'll see them in the playoffs. We'll see what they can do, but I don't know about that. They're going to host at least one playoff game, so we'll see. All right, getting into our pretty solidified top 6 here, we have the 11-5 Detroit Lions at number 6, down 1 spot from last week because they lost to the Cowboys. Not just because they lost to the Cowboys, but they lost once again because of their best friend, the turnovers. I want to love this team. I want to see them win, but this team cannot win when they turn the ball over the way they do in their losses and in their close games. They have been turning the ball over a lot recently compared to where they should be, and it is not pretty. They've been averaging about a turnover a game, give or take, over the last 2 months, and that is not sustainable for this team. So, Detroit, you got to get your act together. You got to get the ball control back. And if you can't do that, you're going to be out in the first round. There's no way around it. I mean, you're going to face off against the Packers, the Saints, the Vikings, or the Rams. There's a chance of the Buccaneers, but they have to tie. But anyway, you're going to go up against one of those 4 teams in the playoffs. I might be missing one, but I'm pretty sure it's just one of those 4. And let's just say any of those 4 teams could take the Lions down if the Lions have a turnover game. I mean, the biggest shot I see is out of the Rams. The Packers could make some noise because, you know, Jordan Love can make something happen if Joe Barry doesn't get in the way. So any of those teams, though, could have a great game and take down this Lions team. They got to feel threatened, and they got to stop turning the ball over. So at number 5, we have the 9-7 Los Angeles Rams, down one spot. I probably could have dropped them lower, but I feel like they are still better than a lot of teams that were below them, just because this team, yeah, they barely beat the Giants. Yes, they have a track record of not putting teams away and letting them linger in games. But when it comes clutch time, this team manages to come up clutch. You might say, well, what about this? What about this? They didn't drive big whenever they needed a big drive against the Giants to win the game. That, I say, yeah, you're right. And yeah, the special teams kind of blew the punt return and botched the punt return. And yeah, Lucas Harvest missed a couple of PATs. I mean, it was 2 points he blew. But when it came down to the clutch moments, that defense, which was always a concern. It was never the offense that was the concern. It was the offensive line and that defense. That defense has been, they are a young defense. They are unproven. And it came down to whether or not that defense will be good. They will go as far as that defense can carry them. And they proved today that they can come up clutch when they needed to. Yeah, they got penalized. And they were going for 2 from the 1-yard line to win the game. But when it came down to it, this team didn't break. They bent, but they did not break on the 2-point conversion. And that's what you want to see out of a contender, that they can win both on offense and on defense. They've had a couple of shootout games. They've had a couple of defensive stand games, and this was one of them when the defense came up big when they had to. And that is the definition of a true contender. At number 4, we got the Dallas Cowboys, up 3 spots from last week. They are sitting at 11-5, and they are sitting very pretty for a chance to win the NFC East. All they need is a win over Washington, and they will win the East. Philadelphia obviously needing to win and having a Dallas loss to get the East. So, I don't know about that. Philadelphia needs to have Dallas somehow lose to the Commanders. I don't know. But Dallas is playing well. Offensively, they are striking. Defensively, they've still been able to force a couple turnovers here and there. This team had a little bit of a rough game at home, though, against Detroit. Detroit did give them a hard time. But when it mattered most, they came up big. And they were the ones that were able to put the Lions away when it mattered the most. Now, some of it might be relied on as that controversial call. I get it. It's odd. It's weird. It's bad. But that's the way it fell. And basically, the Lions got outplayed. The Lions really didn't deserve to win that game. The way they played, I'm being honest. I love the Lions. Trust me. I want them to win. But the Cowboys were just a way better team. And that's why they're up here. At number 3, we have the 11-5 Browns staying put from last week because, man, this team is looking good. Joe Flacco is here to stay, and this team now has clinched a playoff berth. They are in the big dance, and they are locked into that 5 seed just about. So, at this point, there's not much they can do. They're probably going to rest their starters against Cincinnati. They can't fall to the 6 seed. They can't rise any higher than the 5 seed because they're not going to win the division. So, this Browns team has been looking really good. And I don't think I want to face them in the playoffs. I could easily see a scenario where the Browns come out of the AFC. That is very possible because this team, Joe Flacco, has given this offense a spark. They are playing with that swagger, with that confidence. And this team has proven since Joe Flacco came that they can win the game on offense. And they've proven a number of times before that they can win the game on defense too. If you can win the game both offensively and defensively, just like I said about the Rams, if you can prove that you can win both on offense and on defense if you need to, depending on what the situation calls for, you got a good chance at being a good contender. And that's exactly what the Browns can do. So moving on to number 2, we have the San Francisco 49ers. Going to stay put at number 2 at 12-4 despite a big win. Just because, well, the Ravens beat them 2 weeks ago and the Ravens win was bigger this week. So San Fran not really doing anything wrong. This team definitely the strongest team in the NFC. But overall, they're pretty locked into the 1 seed. So they're just going to chill, have a solid Week 18, get out of there, without big injury. And they will be fine. They'll be able to get out into the playoffs and cause some damage, cause whatever chaos they want to cause. Last but not least, we don't got to spend much time on this team. The Baltimore Ravens sitting at 13-3, clinching the 1 seed. This team is looking dangerous. They've always looked dangerous all season, and this team is just showing even more now that they can do anything to beat you. And it just showed here. I mean, they've won a couple games off of defensive stands. They won that last game off a huge offensive game. And it just goes to show you, the Ravens are one of the most complete teams in the league right now. And it is scary. So I think they come out of the AFC. Can't really read much into Week 18 for some of these teams, though, because like the Ravens, they might bench their starters. Same with the Niners. Same with the Browns. But overall, these teams are looking pretty solid and setting up beautifully for playoff runs. Well, that's about going to do it for me today. If you guys did like, don't forget to smash that like button and go down there and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because it helps me out a whole lot and it tells me that I'm making good content that you guys want to watch. If you haven't already, also make sure you go ahead and check out my Week 17 recap over here to see how we got here. And with that, I will see you guys later. Peace out and have a good one.